Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're back for another episode of One Last Try, and we're going to be doing day 2. Marcus, are you ready?
I'm ready. You know it.
See, Marcus think he gonna go in on us ladies. He think he gonna go in on me today, but I am not. I don't care. I don't even care.
I promise you I'll be nice.
Okay. Well, we're talking about for the ladies taking ownership. Why are you feeling like the other woman? You got to take
Mm.
ownership of that. So I guess I start since it's my day. So Marcus can have
Yeah.
crazy things to say. So, ladies, the scripture that I give you guys is Titus 2, 4, and 5. And it says, and so train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be revealed. That's the scripture. And I
Mm.
know ladies, yeah, I know ladies are like,
Yeah.
especially when I see
Train because it's the words that's in there that they probably like. What you mean train?
you
Number
know they
one.
that was the
Number
first
one.
thing I did was
Ain't no animal. That's the one. That's.
and then when I bust out with that submissive, they was like, oh, mm-mm.
Oh my God.
But ladies,
Oh,
let's
that
say
word
this before we
submissive.
even start. Let's say this before we even start. And I know Marcus is going to give his part to it. And I'm not saying it in a negative way that, his part is
No.
wrong. Because what
No.
he's going to say is right. Um, Ladies, we are supposed to be submissive to our husbands, not boyfriends, not baby daddies, but to our husbands. Now, I'm gonna say this because I can say this. Husbands should be a man who listens to God, who you can trust to take care and provide for the family. Now, if you want to be a clown or if you want to be somebody who just pick anybody like I've done in the past, so I can't get mad with nobody but myself, be mad with yourself if you can't trust your husband to be submissive to him. That means you need to either pray yourself into a better situation with your husband or you need to pray yourself out of the situation. But you did it. So don't get mad with yourself. But the Bible said be submissive. Am I right, Marcus?
You're right. That's what the Bible say.
So, ladies, take ownership of your own mess. You allowed that man to choose you, and you said yes. So let's go over
Lord help me.
ownership. So if you have the book, and if you haven't, then buy it online, and you'll see the link below where you can purchase the book online. And if you are in our areas, Marcus and I will be having more books soon, the physical copies. Because you like me, I like to have a physical copy. I like to be able to
Yeah.
read, write, all that great stuff.
Right. Right. Right.
Like, yeah. So in the book, I'm talking about what happened to me in my situation and what I needed to take ownership of. Ladies, we can always feel like we are doing the best. We are the best wife. We're doing this, we're doing that. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I feel like I was doing the best. I was giving 150, 200%, but I was giving it to men who I shouldn't have never placed into my life. And I mean, I love both of them, always will. But I didn't like smoking. I didn't like drinking. I didn't like the hanging out, all that stuff. That was not me. But I allowed that to happen because I felt like I had to because I needed that man in my life. So as time went on and progressed, and I had to deal with it even more, situations got worse because I dealt with the mess I didn't want to deal with from the beginning in the dating phase on into the marriage phase. I had to deal with other situations in my marriage, and Marcus is just waiting on me to say this so he can have something to say.
I got something to say, but I'm listening.
Realizing that I allowed myself to become second to a lot of things. I allowed myself to become second to the drinking, to the hanging out, to the smoking, to the mothers. I allowed myself to become second to friends, to family, to try to make other people happy. And in the midst of that, I was making myself miserable and dealing with me to the point of serious depression that people did not know I had because I'm always smiling. I'm always joking. I always feel like I have to make everybody else feel good. But inside, I was dying because I was allowing things to happen around me that I did not want to happen. So after um, everything started, after everything ended, I had to go back. And I never got mad at either one of them when I realized a lot of it was myself because I allowed those things to happen. I had to go back and take ownership. If I didn't allow the drinking, if I didn't allow the smoking, matter of fact, if I didn't even date anybody that was drinking and smoking, I wouldn't have to deal with it later on. If
Mm.
I didn't allow people to hang out in my house all day and family and members to move in and do whatever they want, I wouldn't have to deal with that all day. So the things that was causing me issues, I had to realize it was my fault. It wasn't his fault. It was neither one of their faults. It was my fault. Because if you don't like something, if you don't want to deal with something, why even date a man that drinks or smokes and hangs out when you don't even do those things? That's unequally yoked.
Right.
Nobody is going to change their life just because that you say I love you. They're not going to all of a sudden stop drinking and smoking just because those are habits that have to be who it takes a lot to quit those kind of habits. So I had to take ownership of it. And I actually, talked to them and I told them, hey, I'm sorry. I was just as much as a fault because who you were was not who I was, even though I was running from who I should have been.
Mm.
I was running from ministry. So, but even still, who they were not who was not who I was. And when I realized it caused a lot of issues in my life. So, ladies, what is going on in your household that you allow to happen during the dating phase? Or men, same thing for you. What is your woman doing now that you might have allowed during the dating phase that just spilled over into the relationship, into the marriage, that now you just like, you know what, I can't deal with this no more. I can't do this no more. But you need to stop and look at yourself. Whose fault is it? Because you allowed it.
Let
What do
me
you
ask you
think?
a question.
Yeah.
So, like, when you mentioned about being your fault, at what point did you realize, or did you take responsibility, and you were saying, "Okay, I'm at fault with this." At what point was did that happen? I see you
Um,
making faces.
I'm just saying though, Marcus. At the time when it was going on, at first I was just like any other person. I was cussing, mad. I would tell either one of them. I'd be like, because like my first husband, I would tell him, stop drinking and driving. If you could at least stop drinking and driving, I could deal. Because I'm the type of person I worry. With my second husband, I was just like, hey, these people need to stop coming around the house. You need to get your stuff under control. If you can get this under control, we can work this out. But after it was over with, that's when I realized I was like, you can't be mad at nobody. Literally, when he and I separated, my second husband separated the second time, and I was actually doing the 40-day love dare from
Oh
what was
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Fireproof.
I mean, yeah, from Firestorm.
Yeah. And it
Yeah,
made me look at myself. It made me look at who I was and what I allowed and what I was doing. Like, and I realized I had to just understand that I allowed these things. You can't get mad at somebody when you allow something, you
right.
know? And that's what I started getting mad with myself. How could
Yeah.
you,
So, you said
how
what? I'm sorry.
I was saying, how could I allow those things to happen? That was me. And even in the relationship I just ended, I did the same thing.
You know,
They,
the title of the title of your chapter is about feeling like the other woman. So like, how did that like? I know for what is what I'm trying to say. If
mm-hmm,
someone is feeling like the other woman or the other man,
mm-hmm.
was it was it something that really made you kind of like second guess yourself and who you were as a person or what you had to offer? because sometimes we can lose ourselves in the course of any relationship or marriage, particularly marriage, because in marriage it's forever. So you might be good the first 7 years, and then in the eighth year, everything changes. So it seems. Or some people, the wedding night it changes. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so at what point did that change for you?
Yeah, and I see where you're getting at. Like it was because I'm the type of person that I feel like I want to improve everything all the time. I want to know what I'm doing wrong. So when things started getting to the point where you felt like you had to do this, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking, so you had to go find people to do those things with, or when I went out with them, it just I didn't feel the same because I'm not gonna do those things. I started looking at myself like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what is it about me? Because when you have a mate who doesn't do those things, you have a tendency of finding someone else to do it with. Whether it's guy friends or girls, you gonna find somebody. I've
Yeah.
never really seen a person that drinks or smokes that does it by themselves. So if your mate doesn't do that, you're gonna find somebody to do it with. And it got to the point where I was wondering, like, okay, what's wrong with me? It didn't dawn on me. Okay, you don't do the things they do. It's not you, it's just you don't do those things. And it was getting to the
Mhm.
point like, okay, am I nagging? Am I complaining? Am I not cleaning up enough? Am I enough? Am I cute enough? I mean, it had got to the
Yeah,
point where it
yeah.
had me feeling like I was just nothing. Like my self-esteem was gone because I'm wondering like, what is wrong with me that you don't want to spend time with me? So yeah,
So
it'll mess with you.
when you were your I love what you wrote here. Um, in recapturing yourself, right? I call it loving yourself properly.
Yeah.
That's my model for recapturing yourself. So in recapturing yourself, how did you recapture yourself? Like how did Delindra become?
To become myself again, it took a lot. Like truly, I was going before COVID-19. I would go to counseling when I would leave my doctor. Like my doctor, I had a procedure, and the procedure, I'm not going to discuss about the procedure. Don't think it ain't nothing,
Don't bring it for TV,
Yeah.
right?
I just don't want to discuss it. But when I had the procedure, the doctor told me, he was like, you need to go to therapy. Like this is something that you can't get over. Like, and you're a strong person, but I feel like you need to go. So when I went to therapy, the therapist, really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I allowed in my life to happen, a lot of things that just happened to me. And one thing, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand it's okay to seek help. That's one thing I don't know what it is about African Americans. And I'm saying it because I'm an African American. So don't be acting funny, people. But if you mention going to counseling or
I ain't
therapy,
crazy. They labeling me.
that's what you're saying. If you mention
I
that,
ain't
be like,
crazy.
I don't need to go see
What you
no
trying to
therapist.
say? Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I can understand you not wanting to talk to some pastors, and I'm not referring to Marcus or myself, but some pastors are not educated in giving you the correct counseling. And some pastors are not educated to the point of knowing that what you tell them stays between the pastor and you. So I can
Confidentiality. Yep.
Yeah. So, but when it comes to a therapist, they are licensed. And there are some pastors who are licensed. My father is a licensed therapist. So there are some people that are licensed that are required to know that what you discuss is between you, and they are trained to help you. My therapist put me through hypnosis, a type of hypnosis. And when I reviewed the video, it was just like, but I had literally forgotten a lot of things. Like my mind allowed me to forget things so I could live, so I can
Right.
function. Because it was like when I got through with the hypnosis, and I woke up out of it, my therapist was crying. And he was like, I can't believe you're actually living. Like, can't believe you haven't killed yourself. He said, you are stronger than what you think. And when I watched the video, I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, But it took me getting help for me to realize that I have issues. Like it's
Yeah.
not just dealing with allowing, but things that happen. You you don't think that school things that happen with you at school as you grow up, you don't think that things that might have happened with you through other adults when you're a child or anything like that can affect your ability to think and to maneuver and what you accept in your life. You can be the beautiful person in the world, and I've met some of the most beautiful people, and they have the lowest self-esteem because people want to tear them down because they want to be them. And
That jealousy is jealousy and envy are poisons.
yes,
You know, and
so you
what you're
never
saying
know.
about, huh?
I said you never know how why people are doing that, and that's one reason
Yeah.
why. So yeah.
And people may say what they want to say about the hypnosis thing because that's just how people are. But in
Mm-hmm.
essence, when people come to church and we laying hands on them, and we're in the spirit of God, and we're speaking over them, and we're
Exactly.
casting out demons, and then they transform. For people who may not be saved that may watch this one day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That person transform and become something different because the demon is actually starting to come out of them. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
come out in a way. And if there were video that was allowed in the churches during casting out of demons,
Mm-hmm.
right? It would be a very similar situation as what you experienced when you was under hypnosis, and then you saw yourself in a different light. Imagine that, because the church will frown on it, and I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's kind of, even though we use it by way of the Holy Spirit in the church, is similar in essence.
It is.
Um, so, but we have to be, wise with that, because people will try to criticize. They're quick to criticize, not understanding that you were strong enough to go and seek some counseling, which I wrote down here. Like, I really commend you for going and seek counseling, because there are a lot of people who think that they are well,
And you're
and
not.
they're dating or trying to date, and they are not well,
Mm-mm.
and it doesn't come out until either a bad argument, or some other incident might happen. So I commend you for taking ownership of your mental health, and going to seek it, because I think any people, I think men and women should take care of their mindfulness.
I mean, that's true because, like I said, you never know what has happened to you to make you do the things you do, or choose the decisions. I mean, choose the people in your life or make the decisions. I realized that the things that have happened to me really kind of had me choosing the people that I had in my life because I felt like I wasn't enough. I felt like I didn't deserve anyone, So
Right.
you have to really take the time to realize, okay, I need to see what's going on in my life. And you could be a person who walk around every day like I was, smiling and happy, and not know that your decisions you're making is because of things that happened to you younger or even as an adult that you kind of just brushed off. So that's a part of what made me be the other woman. I allowed those things to happen because I wasn't where I should have been mentally. I felt like I wasn't enough. I felt like I didn't deserve the best. And so
Yeah.
I allow people to do whatever. And I catch myself sometimes doing this. And my therapist and I talk on the phone because, COVID-19. And my therapist will give me back to reality. Oh, no. No, you don't allow this person to do this because you do deserve better. You are better than what you think.
Right.
So,
Right.
so that's a part of the process. But, I know it's something that you wanted to talk about too on that paper that you said earlier.
Well, yeah. Well, no, this is a good start because it kind of leads right into like some of the things I want to discuss,
Yeah.
which is all some of it's coming right out of the book. Like, so in like one, two, three, the third chapter here, you says, uh, or third paragraph, you says, I never said anything when he didn't spend time with our family and me. And I wanted to make sure he was happy that I didn't tell him how hurt I was every time he spent time with other people on our anniversary, Valentine's Day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know,
Yeah.
here's the thing, and this is people take relationships for granted. They take people for granted. So if you're going to spend time, when I say you, I'm talking about a person in general.
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure that it's defined clearly. So if a person is spending time with someone, if you're going to go to their house for Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
holidays, birthdays, it should be equal. They should come to your people's house
True.
for Christmas, holidays, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I agree.
And what else you might notice is they always can be on time going to their family's functions, but when it comes time to go to your family functions, they sick, they tired, they got other things to do, all this other stuff that comes up. But here you find yourself saying, okay, well, I guess we'll be late again this year. And you get to your own family function at 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. The barbecue is about to be gone, right? And you know, now you're getting a nickname. Here comes lately again, you know. So how did you handle that? I mean, other than what you already disclosed, I know you internalized a lot of it, but how did you eventually handle? Did you ever confront him about this? Like, what did you do?
Mm.
Like, I'm trying to help somebody that might be going through this.
Well, with my first husband, it was like we when we went places with my family, he didn't want to be there long because my family didn't drink. So when we had events, my kids were little, so he would always, be like, use the kids as an excuse, we fixing to go. Even when my parents had a rededication marriage. My parents had a rededication marriage. My mom did not have the wedding that she wanted to have, and she planned this big wedding, and nice, and wanted all the children and their wives and husband, my husband, because I'm the only daughter, to be in it, and the grandkids. And then they had a big reception afterwards. I already knew we were gonna be at the reception 10 minutes and it was gonna be time to go. When the toast got finished, oh, you better be ready.
Mm.
So I,
Yeah.
I was just, it was like I had already prepared myself to know it's time to go. So we use my daughter. She don't feel good. We got to go.
Right.
With my second husband, it was never going to my parents' house as a family. Never.
Oh wow.
It was we
That's
always
different.
we always went to his parents for different holidays, and then I would leave there and go to my parents' house with my kids and stuff. And one reason for that, after we talked, after we separated, because we still friends, we talked. And I asked him, I was like, well, why you ain't never want to go to my dad's house? What's the issue? What was the problem? And he felt like he wasn't enough for my parents. He didn't want to be around my parents because he felt like he wasn't doing as he should as a husband to be around my
Right.
parents.
Right.
So if I had probably asked him that, then we could have, corrected the issue. So that was probably my fault. I should have spoke up. I should have said, hey, I want you to spend time with my family just as much. And when we tried to work things out, he did go around my father because my mother had passed. He did go around my father more, but it just wasn't. Um, I just don't think he was ready to get it together yet. He just wasn't ready. So I would recommend, when it comes to, like you said, family functions, it's hard to do that if you're not equally yoked. It's something that you got to think about. I mean, are you going to deal with it? Okay, so maybe I could have dealt with it better and said, okay, well, let's go to my parents' house half of the day, go to your parents' other house other half of the day. I know a
Right.
lot of people that do that, but trying to please people, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do what my husband say and be done and be through. But at the same time, you're dismissing your own self. I was making my
Right.
I was putting myself at the back burner. So, like, I think you train. I mean, just like this verse says, you know, the verse says, And so train the young women. Well, after I thought about it, I trained him to give me that behavior. I trained
Mm.
him
Yeah,
to place
yeah,
me in the
yeah.
other woman category.
Because you have to teach people how to respect you.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
had to realize I've been doing that my whole life with everybody, with tons of people. I train people to put me as the second person. Even if I always put others in front of me or did everything, I felt like I'm the servant to anybody.
Ah,
But even as a servant, even the master will look at a good servant and give them respect.
right, right, right.
And I wasn't even allowing myself to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could leave a person, anybody, I think, feeling empty,
Yeah.
alone, even though they're not alone, right? Or
Ex-
feeling lonely, even though they're not alone. If that's the
mhm.
better way. So like the way you said that, I kind of like picture like, okay, the Super Bowl is coming up, and I know
Mhm.
this is COVID, so everybody will be different in how they do the Super Bowl. However, so you would be the one like in the kitchen, making sure everybody's fed, making sure all the stuff is done, and everybody else is running around, jumping up and down, and happy. You don't even see the Super Bowl because you're doing all the running around, and then it's like, hey, why you ain't watch the Super Bowl with us?
Exactly. That was me. That was,
Why you ain't watch the game with us? What was you doing?
hey, Marcus, it's funny because you said that because when we did the grand opening for the studio, it was also my birthday. And so I said I wanted to do a birthday party, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna save that money and just do a grand opening. And then, everybody that knew me that was coming was like, they knew it was my birthday. And my kids had to keep telling me, Mama, this your birthday. Sit down. Like,
Yeah,
why
sit down.
you serve everybody? Sit down.
Well, that's because of the servant's heart. Sometimes when you have a servant's heart, you kind of just always want to make sure everything right. I have that very, very bad.
Mhm.
Uh, it's hard. It's hard, for me to kind of like sit still, just in general. So I want to make sure everybody's comfortable. Everybody got what they got. You know what I mean? And especially when I have to be the one to host it, right? Because it's my name's on it. So that's just how I feel. Now, in the book here, because you talked about the scripture about teaching a young woman, because people don't understand the word train translates to teach, right? So
True.
teaching the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind and submissive to their own husbands. I'll get to submissive later, but you said you said uh how did you word it? Here it is on page 22. You go,
Uh-huh.
yes, you should check on your father and your mother.
Mhm.
Yet they should not have precedent over your wife. Once you marry her and after God, she gets priority. I watched something about, I don't know, and you all may have seen it before. I don't know if it was a depiction or if it was something that really happened, but it was a young man who was in a car with his mother. His mother was in the front right seat in the passenger side. They pull
Mhm.
up and his wife's kind of like at a store or something. Anyway, she comes out and she tries to tell her mother-in-law, get out of the front seat. That's my seat. And the mother-in-law says, well, no, I was sitting here, sit in the back. And now that puts that
Yeah.
right, that put the son, and the husband in the middle,
Yes.
right? In the middle. So in like in using what you said here, and there's two schools of thoughts here. Is one is like with the young lady who came to the car, and she's saying, "Hey, mom, that's my seat." The mother-in-law saying, "No, I'm in a seat. I'm already here. You can just get in the back. We're all going to the same place anyway."
Yeah.
Now, I kind of felt like the mother-in-law at that point in time. I think the approach to how the daughter-in-law talked to the mother-in-law might have rubbed the mother-in-law wrong in the first place because it was like a sign of disrespect, as if they had tension. Now, again, I don't know if this was some skit or whatever, but it was pretty darn good. You know what I mean? So my thing is yes, the girl should have. I think she was a little disrespectful to the mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think in that case, she should just got right in the back. I think any other time the mother-in-law, should have offered and say, "Well, come on, girl, sit up here with your husband." But I
Mm-hmm.
think there was already tension there.
Yeah.
So I'm saying all of that to say this.
Mm-hmm.
And the part where you say check on your mother and your father, but put the wife, make precedent for the wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that goes both ways. So long as the wife or the husband isn't isolating you from your parents,
True.
because I think sometimes people think that cleave to your wife or cleave to your spouse means leave your mama, leave your daddy. That's
Mm-hmm.
not what the Bible means by that.
Mm-mm.
And people misinterpret scripture to think that cleave means to leave. No,
Mm-mm.
cleave means I'm going to go over here. I'm married to this beautiful woman and or this very handsome man, and now everyone should respect our situation. Everyone should respect our parameters, right, or
Mm-hmm.
the boundaries that we set forth for ourselves.
That's
You
true.
know, but if he needs to see about his mother, if he needs to see about his father, he should be able to go do that. So long, right? And then vice versa. She needs to go see about her father. She needs to go see about her mother. And if she doesn't have any parents, or he doesn't have any parents because they might have passed away, then they should at least see the one together, that the last living mother or mother-in-law, or father and father-in-law.
True. True.
And
True.
so I guess the other thing I'm trying to ask you is, how did you deal with that? Because were you able, and I say that respectfully, were you still seeing about your parents, or did you become isolated, or was it vice versa based on the way you wrote it? That a person should make precedent for their wife. I think that was the way that you wrote it.
Yeah. And see, like what you were saying with the mother, the video that's been on Facebook and social media, I really truly believe that there has been some serious issues that the
Yeah.
husband has allowed to happen and continue to go on
Oh,
between the two of them.
allowed it.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's some back and forth going on. And I think the problem comes in when you have parents who don't realize my children are grown, and when you don't have a husband or a wife who don't realize that I'm married. That's where you have the issue. And I had let's say the first marriage was just um you have a parent that are busybodies, you know, and you go visit and they want to be busybodies. That's what I had. I never went around my parents much with my first husband, because he was always working. And if we did, it was we get ready to go. But we were always around his family because when he wanted to hang out, his mother would keep the children. So we were always at his mother's house on that weekend, staying there. So it was busybodies, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
second husband, it was you tell your mama everything that go on in the house.
That's not good ever.
No. And one thing my dad always says, and will say if I get married again, whatever goes on between you and your mate, keep it to yourself, because when you're not mad at your mate, your mother and I will still be mad. And that's true. Like you don't seek counseling from your parents in marital situations, not because they might not know better, but
Right.
because you're bringing them into a situation where you're going to constantly be married to this person, but they're thinking, oh, this person ain't treating my child right. And we all know that sometimes we can be one-sided when we're telling the situation. We're not going to tell the whole thing. We're not going to tell what we did. And if we do tell it, the parents still going to look on your side. Most parents do. Now, my dad, Reverend Peterson, he don't care. The first
my
thing he'll ask,
mother ain't my,
what you did?
my mother not doing that.
Exactly. My dad going to be like, what you did? And I can respect my daddy for that. But one thing, he is not gonna sit down and listen to it. He's not gonna do it. That's why I never discussed my marriages with him. That's why I never discussed what I went through with him. The only thing he told me was to write it down. Write it down, pray over it. Don't tell me what's going. If you're gonna stay with this man and you know that you're going through hell, don't tell me. Write it down, pray over it.
Right.
But I would tell any parent, and I hope I'm like that. I hope I'm like what I'm getting ready to say. If your child is married, and say for instance, you have to move in with them, or they have to come check on you and see after you, give that wife or that husband the respect they deserve, even if you know you should take, in this situation, say like for instance, the car situation that we were talking about with the mother
Right.
and the daughter-in-law. I felt like it would have been respectful for the mother-in-law to say, hey, do you want to sit in the front seat with your husband? And then I think it would have been respectful for the daughter-in-law to be like, no, ma, you got it. You already there. Fine. But it's apparent that there is a power struggle.
Ah.
You know what I'm saying? Parents, don't, if you have to live with your child, don't create a power struggle. You are no longer precedent in that child's life. Yes, the child might want to take care of you, be there for you. And if you do things correctly, the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law will love you just like you're their parent. So trying to do a power struggle, don't do that.
You
That's
know what I think in those cases?
mm-hmm,
I say in those cases, whenever the mother-in-law, it always seems like it's the mother-in-law, right? So the mother-in-law or the father-in-law is happen to be like having to be like maybe putting their son or daughter in the middle.
mm-hmm,
I always say that if the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law love their son in
mm-hmm.
that case, then both of them would try to work together because they both love their son and they love their husband. Same thing if it was the other way around. If it
True.
was like, two fathers, the father-in-law and the son-in-law, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they love the wife, they love the daughter. Listen, for my daughter's sake, let's try to work this out. Let's try to get along here. Because if we say we love this man, we love this woman, our daughters or our sons, and our husbands and our wives, we got to try to work it out because we're putting the stress on them.
But I'm
That
gonna
is
say
the
something,
key.
Marcus, that's gonna probably hit home with you. You probably gonna laugh, and everybody watching gonna be like, "Yeah." If you married a childish person, 9 times out of 10, the parent is a childish person. If you marry a selfish person, 9 times out of 10, the parent is
The
too.
apple don't fall too far from the tree. That's what
Exactly.
the that's what
So
the old folks
you
say.
can't work it out with everybody. Everybody can't be, and it seems, some people just can't work through things. So, I mean, how can you
Well,
deal with a situation like that?
well,
I,
when if I married a selfish person, more than likely I probably won't even. But if I
you
did
won't
marry
know
a
it.
selfish,
A lot of people hide
huh?
stuff. A lot of people
Yeah,
hide stuff now.
yeah, you won't know it till you're married. It shows up later, right? So
Yeah.
okay, but I don't recognize, realize, man, this woman is selfish, right?
Hmm.
Or if it was the other way around. But in my case, it would be like, how do I fix this?
Yeah.
Because a grown person is already fixed.
True. You can't.
So it's going to take. I think it would take a lot of prayer and communication and a lot of. Oh my God, that'll take a lot of prayer.
It'll take that person wanting to fix things. You can't make a person change. Just and that goes back to my situation with mothers. Like if my child comes to me telling me something about them, like I find myself with my daughter. I would tell her, look, don't go through what I've been through. Look at my life. And if I felt like she was in the wrong, I'm gonna tell her, look, what you doing it wrong. If you did
Yeah,
something, let me know. Was it you? What's going on? Simple. Even when she was in a situation I didn't want her to be in, well, what did you do in the situation? All parents are not gonna do that. Most
no,
parents are gonna uphold their child, and that's a problem. They uphold their children in their mess. Your child ain't working. How your child pay for this house? This not your child house. If your child ain't working, how your child pay for the house? How your
Yeah.
child bought groceries if your child ain't? How you talking to the person who you know paid for everything like they pitiful, like they don't boo boo recognize? You know your child ain't hitting no nothing.
Excuse me.
In my situation was the mother was upholding her son in his mess. And if I was doing something, Reverend Peterson would have quickly said, you need to stop. And he'll do
Yeah.
that to this day. You need to stop. This is what you're doing. And there were times he did that in my marriage. Well, no, you were wrong. Go back and apologize and get it together. Even when I was dating this last person and I talked to him about it, and the fact of I wanted to know how to be a better person, not to spew out to him about what was going on, but I wanted to be I didn't want to be the same person I was in the past. I wanted to be better. And he said to me, no, way you handled it was wrong. Go back, apologize, get it together. If they don't forgive you, oh well, then you move on. That's what my Graham
Yeah,
Peterson don't be playing. I'm telling y'all.
Reverend Peterson, yeah.
He
So
don't-
I mean, so in feeling like the other woman, and feeling like
Mhm.
the other woman, and going through these challenges. I mean, all of this stuff is good. Like
Yeah,
the daughter-in-law with the mother in the car, your
yeah,
second fiddle to the family, your second fiddle to the friends, your second fiddle to businesses and so forth. What can somebody do who might be in that situation? What do you think someone should do, even if they got an activity or something that they can do that can help them to overcome like being second? Because one part you said about communication towards the last part of it. They need to just share their opinion or something right away. I think you said something like that on
yeah,
23. Yeah.
yeah, most definitely. Um, Communication is a big part of that. You have to go back and communicate what you're feeling. And then you have to go back from the beginning of the relationship. First, before you even communicate with your mate, you need to go back and find where you need to take ownership of the situation. Because that's what I did. I realized I'm the one who trained this behavior. I'm the one who trained this behavior to happen. I allowed it consistently until it became the norm. When you allow things that you don't like to become the norm, you have to find your place in the situation. Once I found my place in the situation, I talked to my ex-husband about it. Like I was like, hey, it wasn't all your fault. This is what I allowed. But I would suggest that you find your place in the situation, sit down with your mate and talk about how you're feeling. COVID-19 has caused a lot of people to realize that there's depression in them that they never knew was there. That
Right.
there are people who are going through things and didn't even know their mates and realize that their life was just crazy. So I would say communicate with your mate. Tell them how you're feeling because if you're to the point of depression, of leaving your mate, walking out, or just walking out on life because you don't even know how to handle it, you need to tell them. Tell them what's going on. Make a list of what's happening, your thoughts. If you can't speak it out, if you know you're going to cry, you're going to yell, you're going to argue, sometimes it's better just to write it down. Like
Mhm.
one thing my dad used to always tell me when I was growing up, because I was dad's little girl, and I would just be so scared to tell him anything. I wanted to be perfect for Reverend Peterson. He would just say, write it down. So that's what he told me all the time. Just write it down. So if you can't communicate with your mate and you feel like it's going to be an argument, if you feel like you're going to be upset, write it down. And just be like, when you get a chance, when you calm, when you want chill, can you read this? And before you come back and talk, you know, calm down so we can really have a community, because a lot of people do get upset. They feel like they're being attacked. They feel like you're attacking them. And you telling somebody that you don't want to deal with something, it's going to feel like you're attacking them. So I would say make a list about how you're feeling. And if you need somebody to mediate it, then go to a therapist. Go to a licensed minister and talk it out. And if you can't do it over the phone. Do it via Zoom or whatever. where you can do that. But trust me, I was at a point of losing myself when all of this was going on.
Hey,
I
I
felt
got a
like
I got
literally.
one more. I got one more for you.
Okay.
It's good. Do you
No,
think?
it
Do you think? Do you think people allow it? Like, you said about the training, and they
mm.
allow things to go on and on. Do you think they allow it because they think that it's going to get better? Like it's just going to go away? Why do you think that people allow themselves to get to the point of being second?
I'm laughing because of two things that just hit my head when you said that. I think people do think it's going to get better. And I'm going to say this, and a lot of Christians are not going to like me, but you'll be okay. We as Christians have a tendency of telling people, pray, 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 pray. And I'm sorry, boo boo, you are not in my situations. There were women, older women telling me, oh, pray, it's going to be okay. I'm getting my head knocked out. Oh, pray, it's going to be okay. I'm working 3 jobs to pay the bills in the house. Oh, pray, it'll be okay. And then you turn around and tell me, oh, my husband got it together when he was like 50, 60 years old. And we
Right,
doing good. I don't want to wait till my husband is 50 and 60 to get his life together. He about to die. Y'all need to stop telling these little young girls this mess because that's what had me in the mess I was in, dealing with mess that you told somebody because you told me it's going to get better. I don't want to wait till he's 60 for it to get better. No. Sometimes things are not going to get better because you are not equally yoked. They're not going
girl.
to.
Come on.
They're not.
All right.
If he does not want to change, it's
It's
not
not
going
going
to.
to change.
He has to want to change, not you
Change
wanting.
comes from within.
Exactly. When he realizes the things that he is doing is harming him, there's a difference. I know people probably gonna get tired of me referencing my father, but my father would tell anybody that he used to drink and he used to smoke when he was in the military and all that stuff. But he realized when he was in the military and because my dad was a hustler, he would hustle some money up for his family. And y'all, my son has me laughing. But it's good to have kids that make you laugh. Anyway, my father would realize that if he could buy a pack of cigarettes and sell them individually, when he realized how much money he was spending on cigarettes just to sell them, and then the ones he was smoking, then he realized that the beer he was purchasing to drink he could sell, and how much he would save by not drinking them. He realized that he had to stop drinking and smoking if he wanted to have a good life for his family. So it took him changing, not my mother telling him to change. It took him. Now, he came from a family of people who would drink, smoke, whatever. But it took him realizing that
Right.
being that man was not going to was not going to improve his family, and was not going to get him to the goals that he wanted. So it's not going to get better because you want it to. And the second thing was time isn't going to change things. You being me trying to be a better woman or me trying to do more than what I was supposed to do was not going to make him be a better man. A person is going to be who he's going to be or who she's going to be when they want to. It doesn't matter how much you do.
It's who they are.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how much you do. I don't care if you work 24/7, if you running bath water when you get out work for them and they ain't did nothing all day, if you cooking and cleaning for them and they ain't did nothing all, it is not going to change anybody. It's going to destroy you as a person. And one thing I don't know if I can't remember if I put that in the book, but I actually became the other woman in my marriage. I literally became the other woman in my second marriage.
Wow.
Yes, Marcus. I literally became because
I just got a whole love exist. I just got a whole love exist thing from that. Go ahead. I'm listening.
I'm sure you did. Because I was trying to please a man who I wasn't yoked with. I wasn't going to do all this hanging out. I wasn't going to do all this smoking. I wasn't going to do all this drinking. I don't want your friends hanging out feeling like they can come in my refrigerator like we talked about the other episode. In my refrigerator. I didn't want all that. So because I wasn't going to allow that, when I would come home from work, he would leave. I had already trained him to go hang out anyway in the first part of the marriage and during dating. Okay, you'd have been home all day. You've had the kids. Go hang out. I had already trained him to do that. So my mindset was, okay, so what time you going to be back? My mindset was, okay, when you get back home, I'm going to cook us some pancakes or whatever. We'll talk for a little while and go to bed.
Oh, I see where this is going. Come on.
I trained him for that. So while you out hanging out, you got women who looking at your relationship, or men looking at your relationship thinking, oh, they got a great relationship. Everybody just think let me tell y'all, everybody was so shocked and surprised when my ex-husband and I got divorced. And people still that don't know, when they find out, are like, oh my God, y'all were the best couple.
Yeah, the
Because
best couple in their eyes that they can see.
you saw the things that we did together, the singing, the businesses, and all of that, but you didn't see the in-depth version of what we went through. So when he would go hang out, there were women that was like, oh, I want what she has. I want to see why why this woman that I know who is a hustler and work, and she's a teacher, she got her own business, she got this, why she wants this man. I want to see why. So I had to deal with that and didn't even know I was dealing with it. So when my ex-husband started messing with another female, I was teaching her children.
I'm done. Case over. Shut down the video. It's over. It's over. No. It's over. It's over. It's over.
I'm just
Oh
saying.
Lord.
I'm just saying. And it got to the point where the roles reversed. Where
Yo, I'm done.
literally reversed to the point where he was at her house living with her, and here I am calling my brother-in-law saying, "Can you?"
Oh man, listen, this is that's a whole show by itself. That right there is a whole show by itself.
But that's the part to take ownership, Marcus, because I pushed myself into that situation. I pushed myself into actually being the other woman. Well, I had to call my brother-in-law and say, "Can you tell my husband to call me? Because I don't want to call him over there." You put yourselves in situations when you don't take ownership of what you trained your mate to be.
Hey, if I was a judge, yo, this is why I hit the gavel. Yo, that's traumatic.
It is. And you know, I was still living through this, still trying to live through this. And he and I still communicate. We still talk. We've argued a couple of times between then, but we are still friends. Okay. So the activity, ladies and gentlemen, for today is to create a quiet room for you ladies. But we suggest if you're married, use the same one your husband made. Don't unless y'all, need a separate space. Unless y'all at that point. Discuss with your husband your need to be important in his life. Tell him about your ownership of your part in this broken area in your relationship. Tell him what you expect from him and allow him to communicate if he is willing to do these things along with why or why not. And this is vice versa for the men. Allow him to do the same thing, because just because you are going through things doesn't mean that he hasn't allowed things to. If you're allowed things within him, I'm very sure he's allowed things within you. So allow him to tell you what he's allowed from you, or what he gave up, or what he has to deal with you.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, why you are feeling like the other woman and taking ownership, because and that's that part about being submissive to your own husbands. Be submissive enough, meaning to have enough respect. And that's what submissive, it translates to. I mean, it's more than that, but it starts with that, just the respect your own husbands, and like I say all the time, A man that is respected by his woman, oh my God, he'll go through a wall for her. She'd be like, baby, I gotta get the groceries. He'd be already like at the car getting them. Maybe not in every case,
Thank you.
okay? It ain't a perfect world, but what is a perfect world is the one that y'all create together.
That's true. I just
Life
had
is what you make it. Marriage is what you make it. Relationships are what you make it. What you're willing to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate.
That's true. I think the main thing to understand, ladies and gentlemen, because I talked about in Dating Chronicles when I was first saying, if you're going to start dating, you need to make a list of what you will allow and not allow in your life. If you don't want to deal with someone that smokes, if you don't smoke and drink and you can't stand the smell, or if you don't like somebody to have loud laughter, I mean, it could be the simplest thing, but as time progresses, it becomes irritating. Whatever it is, it could be the fact that you don't want a man who leaves the toilet seat up. It could be that simple, ladies and gentlemen. It could be that simple. Where if you allow it to happen during dating and it spills over into the marriage, it becomes an issue and a problem. Like I asked my best friend, like, what is it? Because I kept asking him, what about me do I need to change? He kept saying nothing. And then one day I called him and I was like, hey. And he was like, that's it right there. Right there. He was like, you just so loud when you answer the phone sometimes. And I'm like, why? He was like, because you're so
I'm
excited.
laughing because I'm loud. I'm loud. I'm loud.
But see, that's my thing. Like, I told him, I was like, he was like, this is my best friend. Like, he tells me everything. Like, I tell him everything. And he was just like, you just get so excited to talk to me. I just hate to hurt your feelings. And I'm like, but if I'm aggravating you, why would you allow me to aggravate you to keep from hurting my feelings instead of just saying, D, look, stop being so loud when you call me, even though you happy to hear from me. I mean, it would have been so now
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, instead of hey, it's a different
I would be like,
hey.
I would be so loud, it'd be ridiculous.
But see, I mean, no, that's not.
Like,
I mean, your voice,
yo, guess what? Guess what? No.
your voice is loud, Marcus.
I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I
Got that
know.
DMX rah voice.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna get into that next week when we talk about for the men stuff about the anger. Like we
Oh
could be
yeah.
yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, we into that next week, right?
Ooh. I think this is
Don't let
gonna
anger stop you, right? Don't let anger stop you. So I'll be getting to that next week about sometimes, especially with a voice like mine,
mm-hmm.
we can raise it one octave and all of a sudden you're yelling. And it's like, or you're angry.
But that's a
So
part of knowing who your mate is, Marcus.
yeah, I know. You gotta spend time. You gotta spend time. Now watch
Exactly.
this. So all of my cousins, my male cousins,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, we have a lot of men in my family. So if you got 10 to 15 men, I mean, I'm thinking of a real event that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 15, 20 of us in the room, in the same between the kitchen and the living room, of course. And all of us talk almost identical. All of them.
Oh my
All of
goodness.
them. Every last one of us have this strong voice. We're all loud. We're right. We're very vociferous, right? And if you say one thing, the next guy is saying something, and it's like you can hear us outside. I'm not even exaggerating. You can literally can hear us outside, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's a game. If it's a game on, forget it. Just
Oh my
just.
God. Don't even go in the room.
But I love my family. So my family is awesome. So when we're together and we talk, a lot of us have the same issues when it comes to our significant others.
Yeah.
And that is we don't be angry, we talk with passion, and is misconstrued as being upset. So we're gonna get into this next week.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you got a man that got a loud voice and he got a loud family, there's levels to the decibels.
Like for me, women too, because I know
There's
some
levels to
men,
the.
like they be seem like they fussing, but that's just their tone.
I'm not mad if I'm talking. It's when I get quiet.
Exactly. When I
It's
want to
like,
tell you,
okay,
oh, you messed up. When I be like,
yeah,
I
no,
don't care. Oh, it's
yeah.
done.
Once you get into I'm good. Oh, it ain't good.
You better hurry up and fix something.
I'm good. Don't worry about that. We good. Don't even worry about it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Fix it
yeah.
quick.
Talking is always good. I ain't talking. Yes, a problem.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you can get the book. Is in the link below. If you look below the screen, you can see there's a link below for you to purchase the book. And hopefully soon, Marcus and I will have some physical copies for you to have if you want to get the physical copy. So you can get the book one last try. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are going through something with your mate and you would like for us to talk with you, we are open and available to do so. Our information is below where you can reach to us on Messenger or through email. Also, we will be talking to couples throughout our episodes. So if you want to be one of those couples that we talk to, or even a single person, if you want to talk to us about some of the issues that you're going through, send us your information. We'll contact you and we'll get you on our next episode. Trust me, we all need each other to get through this stuff.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
We all need each other. We got to get back to like how our parents used to be. Like, couples that live next to each other, they would go and have couples night and they would just talk out what they were going through. People don't do that anymore. We need to get
Everybody
back.
want to fight now. That's why you can't. No, no. The times are different.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And I know COVID-19 has everybody indoors or whatever. And you might be living with a person you feel like you never knew. It's okay. We're here for you guys. And if we need to help you guys, and inboxes, we will help you guys. And if you want to be on the show, we're here. And if we can't help you, we would definitely send you to somebody who can.
Somebody. That's right.
But we know who will pray for. We can pray for you. We can't help
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you. But ladies and gentlemen, until then, please be safe. Take care of yourselves and your families. Pray for each other. Go to your quiet space, even if you're stuck in the house together 24/7. If you got them kids in there that are not going to school, we understand. Tell the kids it's quiet time now. I need my
Right.
room. And meditate and do your activities for the week. Gentlemen, don't forget you had an activity last week. Join in with activity for this week. Anything you want to say, Marcus?
Nope. Enjoy your night. Until next time, as I always say, love yourself properly, love others properly too.